Welcome everyone to another episode. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm extremely happy I have another beautiful guest with me today. Her name is Scarlett Stanhope, and we recently connected through the big online world, right? Thankfully, we can find each other. And she is all about money and having a healthy relationship with that. I found that is super aligned with what you guys often listen to you on this podcast. And instead of reading your bio, Scarlett, I want to say hi and give you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this episode today. I'm really excited to go deeper. My name's Scarlett, aka the Biz Hippie, and I am an abundance coach. I help entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers transform their relationship with money and learn to master their money so that they can confidently live their lives and pursue their dreams and feel financially supported at the same time. So I do my work with a combination of holistic coaching techniques, as well as strategic money management techniques, bringing together the masculine and the feminine, the biz and the hippie, so that we can find that balance with our money and step into our abundance.
I love it. I love that you combine both, right? Because we can do all the energy work and everything, but if we don't take some masculine action, it's actually, yeah, doesn't really take us very far. So tell us a little bit about your own journey with money and how did this all come about for yourself that you now work with your clients on this?
Absolutely. Something that we were briefly talking about before we clicked record was, having these two extreme polarities that we can often bounce between. And that was a huge part of my journey is, growing up, I was really on one polar side of the extreme. And that was being somebody who was very driven by success, achievement, perfectionism. Growing up, I was a straight A student. I got lots
Yeah,
of good grades. Yes,
same here.
exactly. Right. I was very good at life, like the societal expectations of life and success is what I really strove for. And as a result, I actually was very good with my money. Luckily, I had some good financial foundations growing up. My mom did a good job by helping me open my first savings account when I was 7, and I learned how to like work and work very hard and make money from a young age. So by the time I was 18, I had $30,000 saved in a savings account. I was managing restaurants. I was going to school full time to get my bachelor's degree in business management, accounting, and finance. Had a really high GPA, was doing all of the right things. But at the same time, even though on the outside and on paper I looked very successful, on the inside I was a mess. Honestly, I was so disassociated from myself, so disconnected from myself that I literally felt like a zombie in my life, where I just was going through the motions, waiting for my life to begin. I had no idea who I was, what I actually wanted, or why I was living the kind of life that I was living. And as a result, I found myself to be really depressed, suicidal, and also physically sick as well. It was so uncomfortable to be in my body and be living in my reality that I was covered in head to toe eczema for years. My body was screaming at me that something was out of alignment, that something was wrong, that the environments that I was allowing myself to be in, that the way I was taking care of myself, that all of these things were off. And yet I didn't even realize it. I didn't even notice it. So I had to hit a very hard rock bottom, when you keep spiraling down and down and down until it gets worse enough for you to wake up and realize, oh my gosh, I can't live this way anymore. Like I actually don't have a choice anymore. And so I hit that rock bottom very hard. And then I started to claw my way out of it. And that's when I began to heal myself. That's when I found yoga. That's when I began my coaching journey and became a life coach. And I swung into full hippie mode. I got out of business and swung into hippie, and I got my first coaching certification, went through my yoga teacher training, got Reiki certified, got started attending tons of retreats all over the country, started meeting a lot of people, just saying yes to life and really living my life. And then eventually I swung all the way to the other side. I went from full biz to full hippie, and then I eventually met myself back in the middle, where I realized that I didn't have to totally reject all my skill sets and all my successful, parts of me, the business parts of me that I, had to run away from for a time. But instead, that those pieces got to be valuable. And so are the, more hippie aspects, as I like to call them, of myself. And that bringing those two pieces together is, important and not valuable only for me, but also for my clients and the other people doing this work. Because especially around money, in the entrepreneurial journey, there's a lot to be learned there, a lot of value that's really important if you're going to undertake your journey of entrepreneurship, especially as a coach. And so I have learned to bring all my skill sets together from both ends of the spectrum to create the work that I do now and to help other people on their journey of really living their most abundant lives and doing it in a way that actually creates success in alignment with what they want. And so now I'm living my most successful life in a way that's actually in alignment for me.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, in a way, we have to swing from one to the other extreme because we live in a world of polarity, right? And I think it's hard for us to just be kind of in the middle somewhere, or wherever it feels right for us without having tasted those extremes. And I think that experience, nobody can take it from us. I mean, people can tell us like, no, you don't want to do this. No, you don't want to do that. But there's nothing as valuable as actually going through the experience, right? And then we can share from that with so much more integrity, I feel, and especially authenticity, because it's like it's super real. So I would like to talk actually a little bit more about these two extremes that we kind of see in the world, right? So when I was sharing with you a little bit about my story, I was like, okay, on one hand we have the bro marketing, right? The 6 and 7 figure talk is just about the money, nothing else, right? And then on the other hand, we also have people, especially my audience is a lot of highly sensitives, introverts, empath, where there is too much holding back, there's too much hiding, and it's like, oh, money is not important, and it's almost like avoided the whole conversation, which is the other side of the extreme. So I would love to hear in your words how you see that and how you see that we can integrate it, especially like if, depending on what extreme are you more leaning towards.
Yeah, I think this is really important, especially in entrepreneurship. It shows up in a big way in your business, especially the people that I work with are coaches and healers primarily. And so there's this idea of, I'm providing a service. I'm doing this to help people, and therefore I shouldn't receive payment. Like that's wrong. And there's a level of like repelling money as a result of that. Or on the other hand, there's this idea of like money is greedy and wrong, and I don't want to be that way. But at the same time, we do live in a world right now where you need money in order to survive. And so what I often see is that being in one of these extremes creates stress and scarcity and causes you to act from a place of lack and not enoughness in your business. And that does a few things. One is it makes it hard for your business to actually succeed. It makes it hard for you to support yourself and to support your life. And as a result, especially if you're in the service-based industry, your clients are missing out because they don't have the opportunity to get served by you and your magic. And so my belief is that we're coming from a time, from an age where there's a lot of either or thinking. It's either I have lots of money, but I hate my life and I hate what I'm doing and I'm unfulfilled, or I'm a starving artist and I love what I do, but I have no money. And it's this idea that it has to be one or the other. But I believe that we're stepping into a new age where it is possible to have both of those things. You can do what you love and be acting in alignment and be serving others and be providing tons of value and transformation and having a huge positive impact on the world and love what you do and love your life. And you can also be financially supported at the same time. And in fact, when you find this balance, those two things actually support each other. They create this ecosystem where you just continue to live your life, love your life, and serve and give more and have an even bigger impact on the world. And you can also feel safe, supported, and financially stable at the same time. So it's really important that we change our relationship with money so we can find this place in the middle where instead of it being or living, it's and living.
I love it. So if I'm listening right now, I'm like, okay, I get it. It makes sense, but I'm not getting it on like a body level, right? On a somatic level, it's not there. What would you tell a person? Like where do they get started? If it's like, yeah, I understand it logically, but there's still this part of me that doesn't feel worthy, that has all these beliefs around money from growing up, like money is the root of all evil, or da 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 da. So where do you start?
Yeah, this is why the work that I do is really deep into transforming your relationship with money, because especially for entrepreneurs, there's this idea of, well, the only solution is to make more money, right? If I'm feeling stressed about money, then what I need to do is make more of it. But I believe that that is not necessarily the most important piece. I think there are some foundations that have to happen before that, and that comes with changing your relationship with money. Because even if you don't change your relationship with money and you work hard and you do all the right things and you follow all the strategies and you maybe do make more money, you can still feel exactly the same as you do now. A lot of the clients that I work with are stressed about money. They feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck, and then they get more money and make more money, and they still feel like they're in the same exact scenario. So, in order to address your relationship with money, which is a really foundational piece of creating abundance, of living in this and reality, I believe, again, you have to address the internal relationship with money and also the external relationship with money, right? The masculine side and the feminine side. And so, what this means is going deep into those beliefs, those stories, your identity, your relationship with money, and beginning to heal that. But then there's this whole other piece of actually learning how to manage your money. And this means on paper, tracking your money, seeing where it's going, and then being really intentional and aware of what you choose to do with it and how you choose to spend it in the future. Now, again, with the people that I work with, entrepreneurs and coaches, there's a huge aversion to managing the money. There's lots of fears around it. There's lots of beliefs around it, such as like only broke people manage their money, or like I don't have enough money, so there's nothing to track, there's nothing to manage, or my goal is to have so much money that I don't have to worry about managing. I don't have to worry about tracking it, right? And there's this idea that managing your money is limiting and restricting, right? It's like dieting. But I believe in what I teach to my clients is not budgeting, it's blueprinting. A budget tells you what you can't do with your money. A blueprint tells you what you can do with the money that you have. And when you track your money, when you get your money down on paper, what you're doing is you're bringing in a lot of awareness around what life you are choosing to live. Because how you choose to spend your money is how you create the life that you are currently living. So when you get that down on paper and you see this is exactly where my money is going, you're getting your life down on paper. You're getting a really clear picture of what life you are choosing to live. And once you have that awareness, you can start to make decisions about what's most important to you. Life becomes a conscious and intentional game, and you can start to make really strategic decisions in alignment with what is most important to you and use your money to get there. So, the internal work of your money is vital because it opens up the doorway for you to do this tangible work with money. And when you do this tangible work with money of building a financial blueprint and developing financial awareness, that feeds into all of your beliefs and your energetics around money. I've seen from my clients that around 70% of their money stress goes away just from getting their money down on paper, even if the financial situation hasn't changed at all, because now they just have a clear picture of what's happening. And a lot of the money relationship overwhelm and stress comes from a place of just not knowing what the actual picture is. And so when you do these two things in tandem, the tangible piece and the intangible piece together, it just becomes a major expansive up level of your whole relationship with money, which then in turn has a huge impact on your life and also your business as well.
I love this. So also, when you were talking, so basically tracking your expenses, right? Tracking where the money goes. And I love the reframe because budgeting has kind of this connotation, okay, what can I not spend money on and what's the limit, right? There is more the focus on the negative in a little bit in some way. And when it's more about, okay, what do I get to spend the money on? It's a more expansive focus, definitely. And also, I think I have experienced this myself many times. Tracking money brings up uncomfortable feelings in the beginning. And I think that's a really good thing, right? Because we have to get uncomfortable to grow and expand and actually, and if I think about it, if I'm money and you don't even want to look at me like, dude, I don't want to be in your life. But hey, let's spend some time together. Like, don't be afraid of me and let's talk. I love to talk to money. That's a thing I find really powerful because yeah, it's like, I mean, money is energy. I can imagine money is a person. And if I always like, I'm scared of money and I'm always rejecting money, like money is like, I have still some things to work through.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. That's what it is it's spending time with your money when you manage it. That's what you're doing. You're building a relationship and a ritual around your money. And that's really powerful because and I understand the fear around looking at your money. A lot of people that I talk to, there's this idea of I'm scared of what I'm going to find. I'm afraid of what I'm going to have to change or shift. But what's really interesting to me is you're already living this way, right? Whatever you're going to find is already happening,
Yeah.
right? Like it's already happening. It's already the reality. You are living it and creating it every single day. The
Mm,
only difference is that you can see it really clearly.
mm,
You're already seeing it in the life you're living. You're already feeling it worse with the stress in your chest and the stress in the back of your mind.
mm.
If anything, a lot of that's going to be alleviated once you actually see, oh, okay, this is what's actually happening because we dramatize it in our head. If
Oh, yeah.
we're feeling a little stressed, like it's going to be so exaggerated when we can't see the actual situation. And so, even though there's some fear, which is totally normal, exactly like you said, you have to get out of your comfort zone and do something new. It is so amazing to see what happens once you have an accurate picture of reality, once you have that awareness around what you are
Mm.
already doing, because then you have control over it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, you probably are also very familiar with shadow work, right? So if I don't look at my shadows, they're gonna stay, they're gonna run the show. It's my unconscious, and it's, I mean, also these money beliefs, right? We have to be honest and transparent with like, it is what it is right now. This is how I feel. And I think we always have this idea we have to have the perfect money mindset. We have to be that super confident person, but it starts with where you're at. That's otherwise we are rejecting, and what we resist persists, obviously, and then we're not going to go anywhere, but probably deeper into the direction we don't want to go into. And if you don't mind, because just what came up, I would love to pull up your human design charts because there's now something else that just came that is just so on point with what we were talking about. You good with that?
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited.
No, and just to give you guys a background, so Scarlett is not super deep into human design, but she knows her tropical human design is a 4/6 generator. She said it helped her really a lot with the responding, right? But she's not like super deep into everything. And before we got on the call, I was like, hey, by the way, I also do this thing, cosmic human design, which is with the true sidereal astrology behind. And because I was curious, as I'm running this kind of experiment myself right now to for my own life and the people I work with or encounter, like you having conversations, I just like to look at the two charts and just to see, like, with who you are, what you share with me, what seems more aligned, right? That's all. We don't want to make like this is right or wrong. Human design is always just something to confirm that you already know about yourself. It's not here to tell you you shouldn't do something or you have to do this, right? So yeah, anyway, so let me pull this up now. And thank you for being willing to share this. So this is, like I said, you are 4-6 generator in the tropical chart. And so here, I was just going to briefly talk about a couple of things. So your conscious sun is gate 17. That has a lot about, it has to do with opinions, and also in a very high expression, it's about seeing both extremes, right? But also understanding that your truth might not somebody else's truth. And the 18 is about realigning things, perfecting things, seeing where something is off. So I can see that definitely a lot with what you're talking about with the money, right? And this, like, let's take what is there. I see a pattern here and let's improve it, right? And I also find as you're speaking, you're very clear on how you see things. That's your opinion, right? And you express this very boldly and confidently into the world. So that I see here, right? And I'm really just talking right now about your conscious sun and your earth, and not even talking much about the generator. And now your cosmic human design chart, which I now have here on the side. So now you become a 6-2 projector. It's a little bit of a different type. And both charts, you're very open. So you must be a very sensitive, empathic person. Does that apply to you? Yeah,
Definitely.
you can like feel a lot, which is also your superpower. You can very beautifully reflect back to people, And now your conscious sun is the 55. In human design, we call this the gate of abundance, right? And you teach your clients about abundance. Actually, your program is called Empowered Abundance, I believe. Yeah. So it's just like, wow, this is so cool. And what we were just talking about also, we have to be honest with what the current situation is, right? So gate 59, the sun and the earth, they're always like two sides of a coin in a way. We call them also programming partners. It's like they cannot coexist without each other. And 59 is about, in traditional human design, it's called sexuality, but it's really about sustainability and transparency and honesty in the context of relationships, but also can be the relationship with money, right? So everything that you were sharing is about that, right? You got to have a picture of reality. Let's get really honest with what is. And then this dance with abundance, right? And you have it in the 6 line. So your 6-2 profile, you see the 6 line is the number after the dot. So both of these energies are in the 6 line. The 6 line, we call it the teacher. And so you're here to teach people that in a way, and that's exactly what you're doing. So
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool. It's very cool to get validation from, things like this, like human design and astrology. I mean, that's a huge part of why I love it, is I love when the universe validates me and where I'm at in reality and in my life. And
yeah.
I feel like that totally resonates. I've kind of stumbled my way into abundance, and yet a part of me knows that this was just inevitable. I'm like, oh, all of my life experience up until this point has led to me being prepared to teach
Yeah.
this to others.
No, I love this because, and this is exactly what you said, that it confirms something, right? It's not like, oh, you should be doing something else or something is off. And this is what I always love about it because, I think we all question ourselves sometimes. So we're like, should I be doing something else? But just so you know, your human design is screaming, like, keep doing what you're doing.
Perfect. That's awesome. I'm so glad that me and my human design are on the same team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, I mean, now the projector I call these archetypes by now because with the types, it can also sometimes be a little bit limiting, but actually both the generator and the projector is more of like a focus on the area of speciality, become masterful at it over time, which again, I feel like you're doing. You're bringing all the different experiences you have had, your background. And I also love, I'm just going to share this with the listeners. So when we got on the call, I was like, oh, guess what my favorite animal is? Because you have this huge elephant in the back, right? And that's obviously my favorite animal. Some of you guys may know this. And I have also little elephant earrings on today, so which I barely put on these days. And so we have that in common. And I studied business. I have an MBA with corporate finance and all these things. I actually worked in finance. I did payroll and bookkeeping in corporate before I also human resources that I actually enjoyed a little bit more. But yeah, and I also had the same thing. Like I thought I just have to work and make the money, and I just didn't fulfill. I didn't feel fulfilled, right? And becoming a coach, empowering other people, and also eventually working with money. It's not my main thing, but I also do it a lot. Is so fulfilling, you know. It's just in such a different context than what I learned in university, you know, because it's for the empowerment of individuals versus just managing some companies' general ledger and running payroll that I think these days with AI probably a robot can do at some point, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this work is so important too, is because learning to become the master of your own money is not something we're taught at all
I was
in
gonna say.
school, right? Like we're not taught it at all. Even when I did, get my bachelor's degree in accounting and finance, I learned a lot about corporate accounting and corporate finance, but I still didn't learn anything about how to manage my own personal finances. And it wasn't until the end of college and after college when I was working for a small company, a small business that budgets for individuals and families that I actually learned, oh, this is how
Mm.
you really up level your own personal finances and keep track of that. And that's really an important skill to do as an individual. But even especially as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, something that I see is, there's this avoidance to managing the money. But when you do that, what you're doing is you are stepping into what I call legit business owner energy, right? Like
Mhm.
real businesses have accountants. They have people that manage their money. And so when you do manage your personal finances and also your business finances, you're stepping into what it is like to take your business and yourself very seriously, and so your clients will take you seriously as well. They can feel that energy of you being a serious business owner. Like I am here and I'm committed to this work for the long haul. And so then they can trust you to hold their
Mhm.
money if you are confident with your money. And also, if you have sales calls or if you're marketing online, your prospect clients, they can feel scarcity and lack, and it
Mhm.
repels them. And so, changing your relationship with money and being so on top of your money is so vital to your business success because it changes the way you're able to sell your services and actually bring in clients and to continue to keep your business thriving.
Yeah, I love it. So to give our listeners some super practical advice that they can just implement just from listening to this, what would you like? Let's say somebody has been totally avoiding their money. I mean, they're kind of have an idea, but not really. It's not the full picture. They don't really know what reality is, or there's this tendency to want to avoid it because it feels uncomfortable. So what would you advise them that with a simple Excel sheet or Google Docs sheet, what what can they start doing today and on like a monthly basis?
Yeah. So at the very, very simplest form is if you have fear around your money, to even like look at your money and look at your bank account, one thing that you can do is to practice getting comfortable with your money. And so that can be as simple as opening your bank account and looking at the numbers more often. And if it's uncomfortable or scary, taking a deep breath and just allowing yourself to feel those emotions and come back to a place of safety and saying, yes, like this is the amount I have, and I am safe right now. I am living my life right now. Everything's okay right now, even if it might not feel that way. And even just that small practice of getting comfortable seeing your money and looking at your money can start to tip the needle in a more abundant direction. And then to take it another step deeper, I love to invite people to start to notice, what are you spending your money on? And really, sometimes it can be really passive, right? It's just like swipe, yep, okay, cha-ching. But notice, what am I spending on? Why am I choosing to spend on these things? What's the energy that's motivating and driving these purchases? Am I spending from a place of lack or need, right? Is it like,
Mm,
oh, I feel uncomfortable, so I need to treat myself, right? Is that the
yeah.
energy that's going into what you're choosing? Or what are the things that are important to you? Can you spend from a place of aligned abundance? Can you choose, oh, okay, it's really important that I choose this thing because it's in support of my values and my dreams. It's in alignment with the person, my most abundant self. And notice, what's the energy behind your spending? This is
Mm.
something you can start to do mentally, just noticing more consciously, what am I choosing to spend on and why? But if you want to take it deeper, I recommend you write that down. And that can just even be putting your transactions on physical paper. It could be on a document or a spreadsheet. And I mean, I help my clients really go a lot deeper with this and like build a very clear, comprehensive, complete spreadsheet, which is simple to use, but also like gives you a really clear picture. But even just getting comfortable with seeing, where is my money going? That's already going to start to change your relationship with money.
So I just had a realization because so human design is kind of a combination of lots of different spiritual systems, and one of them is also Kabbalah. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's also just it explains how the universe works. And there's something called reactive behavior, which is basically in every moment because are you making the decision from reactive behavior? Reactive behavior is always like if we don't feel good enough or we feel like what we want is outside of us, right? So in the context of money, it would be also when we purchase like let's say a high ticket course, and I have been there before, where I placed the course and the people on a pedestal. I thought I'm not good enough. I need this, right? There was this like yeah, needy, there's scarcity any energy behind, that's my only way how I can have success. And yeah, and then there are other times with money, right, where we can spend money from not being reactive, but feeling whole. Like I'm okay without it in some way, but I choose to spend money on this. Like this feels actually really good and really aligned. And I think, I mean, obviously, this is where now this whole bro marketing comes in because it has triggered for so many of us all these scarcity fears, but we have only responded to it because we have those scarcity things in us. In that sense, the bro marketing was a gift to work on this stuff, to become aware of it and to release it. So that's another thing because I have recently I started to honestly like for years seeing this kind of marketing, right? Just hyped up money stuff. And at some point I was like, universe, okay, I'm no longer available for this. So I stopped. I really had to consciously unfollow all of this energy because I made myself still available to it. Right. And then it's like, oh, well, there's still a part of me that because that marketing to me is coming from scarcity itself, right? When there's just like money and nothing else with that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I love to talk about, money is an expander, right? So anytime you choose to spend your time, your energy, and your money, you are essentially taking action on your life. Like that's the action point. And so
mhm.
how you spend your time, your energy, your money, the energy behind that, the motivation behind that, that's going to create your results. That's going to get amplified
Mhm.
through the money, through the time, through the energy, and that's going to create your results. So if you are, spending from a place of scarcity, spending from a place of lack, spending from a place of need and desperation, the results that you're going to get are just going to be amplified more of that. But at the same time, like we are human, we have a wide range of emotions, so it's okay to experience fear and lack and scarcity and not enoughness. Like I'm not saying eliminate these things from your life entirely. In fact, I think it would be impossible to do so, and I think that would also repress these important parts of ourselves that are here for good reason, right? It's important that we survive. It's important that we're able to provide ourselves shelter and put food on the table. And that's what scarcity and fear and lack can help us do, right? It's a safety mechanism. But what's important is how can you recognize when these fears are here, when scarcity and lack is present, and how can you pause and work through that emotion, right? How can you move through that and heal that part, close that out, shift back into your abundance, and then take action from that place, right? It's okay for you to experience it. It's not like, oh my gosh, now the world's gonna end because you were in scarcity for a moment. It's okay. The most important thing you can do is learn to process these emotions, as opposed to like getting into this reactive mode where you're like, and now I need to apply for 20 jobs because I
Yeah.
desperately need money. It's like, okay, how can you feel this? Come to a calm, centered, grounded place, realign with what you want, what kind of life you want to live, what's important to you, what do you value? What does your higher self value? How would your higher self respond and act? Can you take the time to tap into that, to reconnect with that, and then take action, spend your time, your energy, your money from that place, right? So it's also a practice of slowing
Mhm.
down to come back into that centered and grounded place, and allowing that experience in between to be okay, because that is part of the human experience, and that can also expand and amplify your results when you take that time to feel and experience everything that is here for you in this human reality.
Yeah, I love this. I'm big on pausing for sure because, and it's so funny in Kabbalah is also one of the biggest things is like take a pause, say what a pleasure, and we actually need to work on this, right? And then we can shift into what feels really aligned for us. And so with the money, it's when we take that reactive action and we make a purchase from scarcity, I think there's always this like, oh, once I make the purchase, I feel better, right? We're trying to fix it with a band-aid, basically. I want to have these fancy shoes. I'm going to have this super cool program with this coach, and I think that's going to solve all my problems. And then we just go through this disappointment, right? But like you say, if we like don't make the rushed investment in the moment, if it comes from scarcity, but we pause, take a step back, we feel it all, we process it, why we don't want to stay stuck in it at the same time. No, it's a very conscious, active process. And then, okay, like this, I think it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, right? Some go through it in 10 minutes, it may be a couple of hours or some days or a week for some other people. But then we can make a decision from a really with the high self-aligned place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And then you'll get totally different results when you take that
Mhm.
pause and when you act from a more aligned place, in a grounded and centered and safe and abundant place. It's going to change
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm. Now, another question, because I also see this a lot sometimes with people where you get into an aligned space and you know it's the right thing to do, but then fear kicks in. Oh, what if it's the wrong thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And I think the first thing is that that's normal. That's a part of the process, right? Because when we're expanding past our comfort zone, first
Hmm.
of all, that's what encourages us to grow, is we are expanding. That's what that fear is it's telling us, oh, we are outside our comfort zone. And
Hmm.
that's the fear response. So, if anything,
Hmm.
one thing that I tell my clients is celebrate that fear, first of all, because
Hmm.
it's not a bad thing. It actually means that you've expanded big time. And this is the evidence and the proof of that. So, celebrate that you are experiencing that fear, because if anything, that's evidence that you're moving in the right direction and that that is normal. Another thing that I coach my clients on is, this idea that we have multiple parts of ourselves within us. And these different parts have different needs, and they're here for different reasons. And they're all here to serve us and support us in our survival and in our life. And so, if there are parts of us that are afraid, that are coming to the surface, that are bringing fear to the surface, especially after we've made a big decision, especially after we've broken through our comfort zone, there's a reason why these parts are here. And
Hmm.
so I think some of the default response is, oh, I need to silence my inner critic or silence this fear voice and be like, get out of here. I don't need this. But I also believe that that part's here for a reason. They're trying to keep you safe. They want to make sure that you're making smart decisions and that everything's going to be okay. So I would give time, and I teach my clients to give time to listen to those parts. What are they saying? What are they here to tell you? How can
Hmm.
you really acknowledge that and listen to that? And then ask yourself, well, what can I do to help this part feel more safe. And that doesn't mean backing out and changing your mind and going back into your comfort zone. It's asking, how can I stay in this new place? How can I continue to expand my comfort zone, but also satisfy my basic needs of safety? And
Mm.
so, especially when it comes to large investments, which I have made several large investments over the course of my business. So I know firsthand what this is like and how it can be really scary. It's asking yourself, like, how can I guarantee my results from this? Right? If you're making a big investment,
Mhm.
you want results. So asking yourself, how can I make sure this is worth it? How can I guarantee that I get results from this? How can I guarantee that even if it all goes not according to plan, that I'm still safe no matter what? Right. And when you
Mhm.
look at that information and you take all that evidence and you supply it to this scared self and you say, listen, I hear you. I know it was a lot of money. I totally understand. It's a risk and we don't know if it's going to pay off. And thank you for supporting me. Thank you for serving me. Thank you for wanting to take care of me. And also, here's how I know it's going to work. Here's how I'm going to make sure it works no matter what. And even if it goes horribly wrong, here's all the ways we're still going to be safe and supported and protected. If you take all that
Mhm.
evidence and you supply it to the self, that self is like, okay, thank you. You heard me. You acknowledged me and you gave me the information that I needed. So now I can quiet down and instead of hold you back from actually doing the thing and actually getting the results, I can get on board and help us all get to that next level. Yeah.
It's so much better because so often I have heard this advice. Oh, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, right? You're not like it's kind of a judgy kind of talk, and just you gotta jump off the cliff to grow. And if you're not, so there was never this like compassionate piece that you're bringing up because I mean that's also the work I do with my clients. We always like include the fears, and so we're so on the same page with that kind of stuff because it has to be sustainable for the nervous system, if I'm just gonna force myself into a big investment before talking to these parts of me, which, like you said, it's totally normal. I mean, we're humans, and anytime we leave our comfort zone, they kick in, they come up, and let's have a conversation. Exactly, so much better. Damn.
Exactly. Yeah, it just makes
Mm.
such a big difference, you know?
And I want to share something. So a really good friend of mine, she has also been on the podcast now several times. We actually met through the podcast, but she works with trading stocks. And what you just said, it's so similar to what she says because I have actually also taken a course, and the way she teaches trading is so different than the typical idea we have about trading, where people are in black suits and tie, and it's kind of this hectic atmosphere because everything is about nervous system regulation with her. And it's the same, like I have learned with her, like before I take a trade, I actually have to be okay with taking the loss. So we really have to work with the nervous system. And like, I'm still going to be safe if I lose out on this trade, right? And when we do it from this place, everything is just so much more successful. So I mean, in essence, it's the same exact idea you were sharing, just kind of expressed in a different way. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so, because again, money expands whatever you're experiencing. So it's really valuable to go through
Mhm.
this internal process first and have this internal awareness that so that way you can come to your decisions from a really grounded and safe and centered place, even if it's a scary thing to do, even if it's outside of your comfort zone. And so when you bring that energy in, it's like you're
Mhm.
guaranteeing your results because if you're putting money in an aligned way, the results that you're going to get out are
Mhm.
going to be aligned and expanded.
Hmm. Yeah, I can say firsthand, if I look back, I had also several high ticket investments, and there was a few that came from scarcity and they ended up in more scarcity in my life. There were other ones that were also a total stretch for me financially, but it felt super aligned. I took my time, and it was a tremendous growth period for myself, tremendously. And I'm so thankful for that. So it's not like all high ticket stuff is bad at all. It's actually sometimes it's exactly what we need. It's just about taking that pause, And really getting in touch with yourself, in a compassionate way, not this. That's why I'm, again, not a big fan of the old traditional marketing, where it's like you only have a few days to decide. There's always this pressure behind, while I also understand that, actually would like to hear your take on it. Sometimes when there is no limit or time frame, people also have no urgency whatsoever sometimes, to actually jump into things.
Mhm.
So I have found that for myself, at least, it's better to have, oh, there's a time period where you can sign up, but then it's closed. Because if I have it open like all the time, it's really, really also hard to get people into the energy of that.
Yeah, I think that's accurate because, there has to be something that sparks us into
Mm.
motion and momentum. And that can be a variety of different things. It could be, oh, this is on sale and I know I already wanted it, so I might as well get it while it's on
Yeah,
sale. Or,
yeah.
yes, now is my time and here's the time that it's available. And I don't want to have to wait until the next round, right? So
Mm.
there is something to be said around creating those like containers and those boundaries because that can
Mhm.
supply the momentum to create the urgency. But I also believe that even if there was an open-ended time frame, the urgency really comes from the value of transforming your life now versus later.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
if you do, and let's talk specifically around this work with money, because that's what we're talking about, right? If you transform your relationship with money now versus in 6 months from now, versus a year from now, versus
Mhm.
5 years from now, or 10 years from now, it's going to totally change your whole life instead of wasting all that time like being in scarcity, being in lack, getting more results, amplifying those results in that direction, taking away all of that and instead stepping into your abundance now, no matter what your financial situation is, no matter what your current reality looks like, and tapping into that abundance now, living from that place and making all future decisions from that place, that's going to
Yeah.
totally change your reality and totally change your life. And so I believe that a huge part of the urgency is this is your life that you are living right now. And you get to decide to be even more in control of it. Your money is your power. It's
Mhm.
already your power all the time, every single day. You have money, you're choosing to use it in a variety of ways. So, what would happen if you decided to start wielding your power intentionally? And if you started to do that right now, like that can literally change your whole entire life. So, why wouldn't you want to do it today? You know?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, I love this conversation. I always love to talk about money and slowing down and alignment and, being our also most empowered self, because I think that's so important, especially for like people that, more introverted and they tend to hide a lot, and so I think that's super powerful. So I would love to hear from you how people can find you. Also tell us a little bit about your abundance program.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to connect with anybody here. If you want to reach out to me or, follow me and see more about what I do, you can find me on Instagram at the Biz Hippie. TheBizHippie. I'm very active on Instagram. So you can shoot me a DM and let me know what you took away from this episode. And I would love to chat more about it. I also love to offer to my podcast listeners a special offer, which is a free abundance activation session with me. This is a 30-minute deep dive session where we're going to look at your relationship with money, what it currently is, what impact it's currently having on your life, and exactly how you can shift your relationship with money so that you can create your most abundant life. And for my podcast listeners, I love to offer these sessions for free. So you can sign up for your abundance activation at thebizhippie.com/activate and, start to transform your relationship with money starting today. So those are the offers that I love to, share with my podcast listeners. And if you want to learn more about Empowered Abundance, that's my 6-month signature program where you will have a deep dive in transforming your relationship with money. We'll go deep into your inner relationship with money, the stories, the beliefs, the thoughts, the selves that are holding you back, keeping you in your current patterns, in your current scarcity. We'll transform those, tap you into your abundance, and you'll also learn how to manage your money for the rest of your life in a way that feels exciting and empowering and fun so that you can wield your power and create your best life. So feel free to reach out to me so that we can talk more about if Empowered Abundance is the right next step for you.
Wonderful. I'm going to make sure I put everything in the show notes. And I have one final question for you, which I usually ask my guests. So what's one piece of advice or wisdom that was absolutely life-changing for you? It can also be something you already shared during the episode, but that you really want to leave the listeners with.
Yeah, this is great. I remember when I was crawling out of rock bottom. I, prior to that point, was waiting for life to start happening. That's what I was doing. I was waiting for life to start happening, and I was wondering when it was going to happen. And that's why I had found myself in the, really dark place that I was in, is because I had just gone with the flow of life in a very downward spiral way. And I felt like I had no control and no power. And I was like, okay, when is it going to get good? When's it going to happen? When's life going to start? And I realized that life was already happening. It was already happening right now. And it shocked me because I realized that I was the only one that could be in control, that I already was in control. And that if I wanted to change my life, that I was the one that had to do it. And instead of waiting for life to start, I was the one that had to start living the life that was already happening around me. And so that's the wisdom that I want to leave with people today, is that you are already living. Life is already happening around you, and you have so much more power than you think to be in control of this life and to live whatever life you really want to live. It is so possible for you. If I look back on this girl from 6, 7 years ago who felt like she had no control, no power, she was in a toxic relationship, she was in a toxic work environment, she felt like her life was empty, she felt like she was empty, she wanted to kill herself because she felt like there was no point and that it would never be any different. If I could tell her now what our life looks like, she wouldn't even believe me. And so if I know that it's been possible for me, it's 100% possible for you, no matter how far away that might seem. And so I just want you to know that you can own your power, you are in control of your life, and you can make it however you want to make it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, because it's so important. This slowing down, taking a pause, going with the flow does not mean to be passive, where life, where you just sit there and you let everything go by. You have to be an active creator of your own life. You have to take bold decisions every day. And I think so often we shy away from it because it gets us uncomfortable, gets us out of our comfort zone, right? It's a very, slowing down can be a very active process. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
your passion. I love your, there's just the clarity how you describe all of this. And also thank you for your vulnerability, to really share your story with that, because it's also, it feels very authentic, and I can really sense your, just your enthusiasm for all the work that you do. And it's also, even though not just because it's in your human design shop, but just from talking to you, it's such a joy. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this episode today. It's been so great to explore all these avenues and to connect.
Yeah, likewise. And you listeners, as always, thank you for being here. I'm very confident you really enjoyed this episode. I definitely invite you to go back and re-listen because there were so many nuggets of wisdom that I want to write down myself. And thank you again, Scarlett. It's been such a wonderful, fun hour that went by like a split second. That's always good news, I think. And yeah, I will be really happy to be with you all on the next episode. Bye, everyone.